Have you ever had a haircut and you go home and you say something is wrong, something is off, my layers look awful? Well, here are a bunch of layering mistakes that are causing your haircut to look awful. I'm gonna do and describe one for a men's haircut like this length, and then a women's haircut that has a bit longer length. So the first thing is when it comes to layering, you have to, and I know this is a challenge for some people, but you have to make sure that you're finding someone who knows how to layer hair properly. Nowadays, there are a lot of barbers out there that are studying and learning how to actually cut hair with scissors. Traditionally, barbers are known as, being masters with clippers and shaving, which is totally accurate, and like mediocre at best with scissor work. However, nowadays, I think they're trying to become more of a hybrid, just like there's a lot of hairstylists trying to be good with clipper work. But the biggest difference is that as a hairstylist, which is what I am, we're trained on haircut shapes and how to actually cut hair. The, fading hair and using clippers, that's something we learn on our own and we get trained on. So when it comes to layering, find someone, and you may need to go to a hairstylist. You may need to leave your barber who's butchering your hair and go to a hairstylist. Or if you're going to a hairstylist who's butchering your hair, then it's time to find someone else. But find someone who knows how to freaking cut hair. Now, I see a lot of times when I'm watching these videos on social media layering, especially like barbers or maybe stylists, but the way they're layering the hair is the first thing that they're doing is everything is being layered vertically, meaning every section is being brought this way. I'll show you what that looks like from the side here. Vertically, meaning that it's not, it's this way, right? It's not across, it's this way, back to front or front to back. The entire top of the head is cut that way. What that does is it creates and it removes a lot of weight in the hair, which can be good in some ways. However, if you're looking to create more of a balanced, even shape, because the hair doesn't grow up this way. Hair grows out from the head. And that's the biggest mistake, and I always see people doing this, is that they do all these haircuts because it looks cool, but in reality, what I do as someone who's been doing hair for 30-something years and trained with some of the best in the world as a hairstylist, I like to cut hair how it grows out from the head, which is this way. Okay? Hair isn't growing up this way when you get into this area. And what happens is, that's why I like to cut hair and layer hair. I work from the bottom up because I'm working into the shape. If I work from the top down, I then have to go back. You don't build a house from the top down. You don't put the roof on. There's no foundation. You have to build a foundation and work your way into the layering. So by cutting layers, which is what I do, starting from the top and basically pulling everything out from where the hair grows this way and following the head shape, that's allowing me to have a much more balanced shape. If I went in and cut everything this way, the entire head, it's going to leave this, it's going to be very short here and a lot heavier and just not laying properly here because you're removing a lot of weight and this is really, really heavy. So that's my method of when it comes to layering. So a lot of times, the professional who's cutting your hair, they may be actually removing too much weight and not layering your hair properly to create volume and shape. That's why your hair may look awkward, and this is getting a bit more advanced, but that's why your hair may look awkward as it grows out, or it doesn't look so good, maybe a week or two after you get it cut. The way I cut hair and the way I do layering, and I've always cut hair, is I actually layer the hair and shape it to grow out, meaning that I know a lot of professionals, that's how they make money, is getting you in as often as possible. They want you in every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Where for me, my clientele, when I was seeing clients, is that they'd come in, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and their hair would look better than when they left, because I cut the hair to follow the pattern and layer the hair to the head shape. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why you're having a bad layer job. All right, the next thing is not understanding the right lengths when it comes to layering. Sometimes someone, when they're starting their haircut and they're layering it, they'll take a section and then they'll cut the first section too short. Now, if the first layer is cut too short, what's gonna happen is you then have to match all of that up to this for it to be balanced. And if you end up cutting one section or having your haircut too short in that first area, that means that that professional has to then, like, they're probably panicking, or they have to fix it in a way where it's so unbalanced because they don't know how to blend it in. That first, it's like the cut of death. That first cut, if it's too short, then you're screwed. If it's too long, okay, it may not be the right shape, you can go shorter. But if that first section, when you're getting your hair layered, is too short, and let me know in the comments below if you've ever gotten your haircut, right? And you're sitting in the chair, and that hair professional, they go, okay, Barbara, like, how's everything? Okay, or hey, Mike, how's everything? And then they cut the first section, and you're like, whoa, what the hell? I wasn't looking for that much cut off. And the next thing you know, you're like, your hair becomes a disaster. Let me know in the comments. You can pause the video and come back, but have you ever experienced that, where that first snip, that first cut was like, wait a minute, what did you do? Because that really could be the deciding factor. It's just the haircut is cut too short. And then what happens is, if someone doesn't know how to layer hair properly, then they're gonna get confused. So a lot of times, technically, the stylist or the barber, they're getting lost in the technique of cutting hair because they screwed up. That's with anything. If you're painting and you paint over a spot, or you go over the tape, or something happens, or carpentry or whatever, cooking, if you do one little thing wrong, it's gonna kind of mess up the entire thing. So another reason you're getting bad haircut layers is because they don't know technically how to do it. That's why it's important to find someone to do it. And then lastly, on this mannequin here is, let's just say that you're getting your haircut and it's not laying properly, right? You go home and you're like, oh, it's just like, there's something that's kind of like in here. It looks all choppy. Choppy layers are the worst. And especially on shorter haircuts like this, to where, now this is a proper haircut because I did this, but let's just say that, you brush your hair back and you're seeing all these like steps and you're seeing like all this choppiness. That's simply because the person, once again, technically does not know how to blend hair properly. What needs to happen is, if you're seeing, like, I'm combing this all down and this is seamless, and this is all, look how short these layers are. But look how seamless this is, because once again, it comes down to following the head shape. So if I pull this hair out from the head this way, and you can see, I then follow the pattern. So it starts off here. So it's here, then here, then here. Everything is following the head shape and it's blending in. So if all of this is not blended in properly, right, or balanced, it really comes down to the word just balanced layers, then all of it is going to be very choppy. But when you have a balanced layered shape, you're not going to see any hardcore steps or chunks in the hair. Once again, it all comes down to technical. You yourself are not doing anything wrong. It's the professional who doesn't know what the heck they're doing that's ruining the entire thing. So now we're going to start to talk about women's hair and stuff like that. So it's really the same type of concept, right? If you have choppy layers, or the haircut has a lot of steps in it, right? Like, it comes down to, once again, that first layer being way too short. So if this is way too short, and then you're like, well, I want to keep some length in through here, and they don't know how to technically cut the hair, you're going to see all sorts of steps, right? Another thing is when someone's getting their hair cut, or you're getting your hair cut, and if it's not layered properly, what can happen is they can just take that first section right here, do one big chomp, and the next thing you know, they're just going right down to the bottom here and cutting this, and there's this whole area of hair in through here that's not being cut. It's because, simply, again, it's technique. They don't know how to do it. or they're trying to do a rush job on you, or they just don't really understand. Another thing that I see all the time when it comes to layering is, and let me know once in the comments below, if you have hair where it's very, very heavy at the bottom. Every time you go to get your hair cut and you get your hair layered, you're like, why is my hair so heavy? And this is what's happening. I'm just gonna back out a little bit here. Let me know if this is you in the salon, right, when you're getting your hair cut, to where the stylist, this is the back of the head, the stylist will take the section, right, and they'll take this here, you're at the back of the head, and they'll go like this, and they'll go, meow, and they'll come way over the top. Let me even do that again here this way so you can see. They'll take the hair all the way from down here, and they'll go, now watch what happens. All that hair is falling. All that hair is falling. All that hair is falling all the way down, and then all of a sudden they cut all this, they're doing some handstand, ready to break their back, and then that's their layer job. Now what happens is, when all of that gets brought up this way, you saw, literally, watch again what happens when I do this. So let's go. Watch the hair. Watch what happens. Boom, it's falling, it's falling, it's falling. Let's go. I'm even going to overextend more because this is how far they go up. Look at all that hair that's falling, and we get to the very top. Oh, guess what? Now I'm going to do a layer job. All of this has not been touched. It's all one length. That's what's happening. They're not even cutting this, because when you over direct that hair, all this hair is falling out. So if you're somebody who always suffers from when they get your hair layered and it's so heavy throughout the bottom, it's simply because they're not really cutting the hair properly and they don't know they have to go all the way down to the bottom, AKA combing the hair out to the very, very last section all the way down. Look, there's the length. This is the weight right here on top of that. Once you have this come down, you're fine. But what needs to happen is you need to make sure that all of that hair on top of this is being layered. And now you can see I've got some movement in through here, and that's then going to soften. You can see how the hair now is falling in layers in through here. So that's another big thing that I see why your layers and your hair is so heavy, simply because they're overextending all of this hair up, and this just falls down and it falls flat. And you're like, oh, I have all this, like, it's kind of like thin and tousled on top, but like this is so heavy down through. Well, that's why. Again, it comes down to technique. People just don't know how to layer hair properly. I mean, it's that simple, right? It's like going to a restaurant, the chef, he or she does not know how to cook steak properly because they're undercooking it or overcooking it, whatever. It's the same thing with any trade. You have to make sure that the person who's doing your hair is doing it right. So it comes down to making sure the entire shape, depending on what you want. If you don't want to have a lot of layers, then fine, and do a face frame or something. The next thing when it comes to layering that I see wrong on women's hair is, where they're starting this layer. Now, layering can really be a disaster if it's not done right. Once again, I want your feedback. If you've ever had a haircut to where your hair looks really stringy and thin and has some weird shapes in it, that's simply because the person who's doing your hair, once again, is not doing layers properly. Body positions being changed, the hair is being brought out the wrong way. They're over directing. They're not cutting it right. They're taking all of this hair and holding it differently and creating a hole in your hair. They may see, oh yeah, all this, and then boom, they whack this huge chunk in your hair, and you're like, yeah, what just happened? What did you do? It's because they're not executing it properly. So you have to make sure, and you need to emphasize to the stylist, chances are you're probably not going back to someone who butchered your hair, but what you need to do is, if you're going to a new person, tell them, saying, look, because of the way they layered my hair, it's all uneven, it's all choppy, it's all weird, it's got this weird shape. I've seen it a million times. You may have to let some of that grow out. You may have to go a bit shorter, but you're going to have that shape rebalanced at some point because it has to grow into itself. They've removed so much weight in through the sides that it's like, you're like, where'd half my hair go? It's just simply because it was layered wrong. So you're gonna have to kind of do some reconstructive surgery. And that's, again, it comes down to the professional. So make sure that, you know, when you're getting your haircut layered, you understand that this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. The stylist, you know, again, while they're cutting your hair in the middle of it, you can say, hey, what are you doing? Stop, this looks awful. You can stop them, but then it's like, what do you do from there? And then the length in the front. How short or how long do you want the length? If you want your layers to be a bit more, you know, full and have some more framing, you have to know where you want that layer to start. Don't expect to have a lot of fullness and great face framing when you're like, oh, I don't want my layers too short, and then they start way down here. So the longer your layers are, the more your hair is going to be weighed down. If you want to have fullness like this and volume in your hair, then you're going to have to make sure that the layers are more of a fuller, rounded shape, kind of like what this is, what I did in this haircut. So make sure that you really, really understand like what's going on with your hair, and it really comes down to where it's not you, it's just the techniques are not being done properly. But there are some things that you need to understand when it comes to haircutting, so you know now why your layers look like crap. It's simply because the person is creating a crime scene on your head. I'm the hair detective. I have to show up, put tape, crime scene tape around your head, and then fix it, all right? But anyway, if you want to understand haircut shapes, if you want a virtual consultation with me, I'm now offering that. You can actually click right here in the shop, view products. You can buy my haircut shape ebooks that are only $10 each, and also a virtual 30-minute private through like Zoom or something, or a video call with me doing a hair consultation with you for 30 minutes. You get my time. And you can book that right through the shopping right here. So thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you soon.